Okay, so now we're trying to find what is going to be our scale in our project. If I look at this, basically, if I have a piece of paper, and basically the piece of paper that I usually use is 8.5 inches by 11 inches, but that's actually about 28, 29 centimeters long, and the longest part. It's the longest part that I care about here because I want to be able to fit in my longest distance in there. So, but rather than try to fit it right to the edge and right to the edge on the other side of my paper, I actually want it to be a little bit smaller. So actually I would, rather than fit it into the 28 or 29 centimeters, I'm going to try to fit the longest part of my map into 25 centimeters. All right. So if I do that, I need to add up the parts that add up to the long side, not the ones that like this 5.7 and this 12.3 and this 6.8. They're all on the narrow part of the paper. I don't care as much about that. What I care about is being able to fit the 45.7, the 39.3, the 38.5, and the 48.5 all into those 25 centimeters on the long side of my paper. So the first thing I do is I add up just those parts. I don't add up these small portions, 1, 2, 3. I add up this 45.7, 39.3, 38.5, and 48.5 to find the total distance, like we could call this a north to south distance or an east to west distance. We just basically, we're not going to include the short part of the strip, but just the longest part of the piece of paper. That the adding up all the lengths that go in the same direction as the ones going in the longest distance that I'm going to be traveling. Okay, so I add up all those numbers, and I end up getting 172 meters is the total. Okay, so I'm going to try to fit 172 meters into 25 centimeters. So I'm going to set up a proportion. I want to have 25 centimeters is to 172 meters, and I want to know what 1 centimeter is. So I'm going to find my scale. What 1 centimeter is, how many meters is that going to be? Well, now I've got a proportion. Cross multiply, uh, multiply them together, divide both sides by 25, and I end up finding that 1 centimeter should be equal to about 6.88 meters. If I'm going to fit that whole 172 meters in 25 centimeters of paper, I'm going to need to let 1 centimeter equal to 6.88 meters. However, this number is a bit impractical. So I always want to round that number up to something easy to use. All right, so that 6.88, don't round down because then you're going to go over the 25 centimeters. I'm going to round that up. You could round it up to 7. That 1 centimeter equals 7 meters, but I like to do something either that's a multiple of 5 or 10 in here. So 1 centimeter is equal to 10 meters, and that's how I get my scale. And then I can use that 1 centimeter equal to 10 meters on all of the proportions that I'm going to do for the rest of the project.